Hello, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be showing you how to use ChatGPT to get rid of one of the biggest problems that people have with personal productivity. So very often when you're on a personal productivity kick, it's very easy to get all in, like too far in, and to generate the perfect schedule that involves, waking at dawn, having cold plunges, fasting, like all of these different things and filling our day with productivity. And the problem is when we have this perfect schedule, as soon as we don't hit it, we fall off. We fall off the wagon immediately. So it's much better to be able to align our perfect schedule, our perfect idea of personal productivity with the actualities of our life. I'm going to be showing you how we can use ChatGPT to do this. And we're going to be combining our actual use of time with this perfect schedule in order to generate a hybrid, which is a more sustainable way to achieve personal productivity. So often our expectations do not match reality, and when they do not, we tend to get disillusioned and stop doing everything altogether. So instead, we're going to make it more sustainable using AI. So in the previous videos, I've showed you how to create what is basically the perfect schedule for you. We started with your values, and we used your values to work out what your annual goals should be. We made sure to use the values so that your goals were actually aligned with what it is that is important to you. So if it's family, great. If it's business, great. If it's just about money, fantastic. Whatever it is, you need to be aligned with what your values are for your goals to actually be worthwhile you doing. Too many of us just chase goals for no particular reason, despite them not really aligning with our values. We started there. We then went from our goals into more actionable project plans. So we broke down an annual goal into quarterly, monthly, and weekly tasks that we should be achieving, and in order to keep us on track, to make sure that we can actually achieve a big annual goal. We then went from the project on a weekly basis into a set of tasks. That's what we covered in the last video or the last newsletter issue. This is a set of tasks that you need to do over the week in order to hit your larger project goals and therefore your annual goal and achieve what's valuable to you. So that's where we are. You have now produced what is the perfect schedule for you to achieve what it is you need to do. However, sometimes perfect is, it's not practical, and you're going to fall off it because your life gets in the way. And that's absolutely fine. So what we need to do is we need to run with our perfect schedule for a week or so, but at the same time track what actually happens during that week. So use a time tracker. You can get an app like RescueTime, or I would say just use pen and paper, write down, keep a note of what's happening on an hourly basis. You don't need to get any more granular than that. You just need to roughly know what it is you were doing all week. Where are the blocks? Where are the unproductive times? When did you wake later? When did you go to bed later than you thought you would, or you planned to? You just need to note these things down and be honest with yourself. Don't, fudge it, because you're only lying to yourself and ChatGPT maybe. Although I don't think ChatGPT cares. And then once we have spent a week doing that, we're going to feed that information along with our perfect schedule into ChatGPT using this prompt. So basically, here's a rundown here. It says, compare my planned schedule structure to my actual time usage. Use the actual time usage to adjust the planned schedule structure and make it more realistic. Output the new structure in a table similar to the planned schedule structure. That's just to keep the same structure overall. And then we give it the planned schedule. That's one we generated before, the perfect schedule, as well as our actual time usage. So if you remember, I'll just switch over to it. There we go. Our perfect schedule looked a bit like this. That's an example. And I'm going to feed it information that looks like this. So I woke at 7:30 daily, breakfast was later, 9:30, not 8:30. Gym, I've started at 12 noon rather than 10, for example. Newsletter, I start 1 hour in the AM and 1 hour from 1 to 3. So instead of a 2-hour block, which is what it was in the perfect schedule, I'm just giving it the realities of the situation. And then difficulty finishing main work block before 5, more realistically 6. So ChatGPT is going to take all of that. It's going to take the perfect schedule. It's going to take my revisions based on my actual time usage, and it is going to regenerate a schedule. Now, this schedule, now you'll see it has breakfast at a different time, it has waking at a different time, it has the newsletter split over 2 blocks here. It still protected my main work block, which we made sure it did in previous prompts, so it knows to keep that sacrosanct. but otherwise it has adjusted everything based on my feedback. Now, that's great, but that schedule, it doesn't actually give me my next week's tasks. So remember, in the previous video, the previous newsletter, I had it generate this particular schedule, which included things like, you have to do the Christmas shopping. I think I had Christmas shopping here. There it is on Saturday. Obviously, when we're moving into week 2, we don't need to do the Christmas shopping because we've done that. We're in week 2. We're not in week 1. So at this point, we're going to use a slightly adapted version of the prompt from yesterday. Let me pull that up. Here we go. Act as a scheduling assistant, so the same role declaration as yesterday. Here is my basic weekly updated schedule based on actual time usage. Adapt it with the following details. Now it's called that because this is what, there we go, updated schedule based on actual time usage is what ChatGPT is calling it. So we just need to make sure ChatGPT knows what exactly I'm talking about. So update it, so adapt it with the following details. And then the rest of the prompt is the same as the one yesterday that we used to feed in the details of what we need to do this week. ChatGPT will take all of that and it's going to use the new structure that we have worked with it on, which is a combination of the perfect structure and the more realistic time-based one. And it's going to generate this new plan for next week. So we can do this every single week. I would say you don't need to necessarily time track every week. If you want to be hyper optimized, sure, go for it. But generally you'll start to fall into patterns and you won't need to be doing this every single week unless you find, every single week you are waking earlier or going to bed later or whatever it is. You need to feed that in order to optimize the schedule. And what we end up with here is not the perfect schedule. It's not the most productive schedule that we generated in earlier prompts, but it is instead something that is realistic and will actually get done. And that means it's sustainable and that we're therefore more likely to stick to our projects on a monthly, on a quarterly and an annual basis because it's sustainable. So that's the whole purpose of this last part, is to optimize and make our schedule sustainable so that we don't just overwhelm ourselves and fall off the wagon. If you get the premium prompt, there's some additional coaching prompts in there, which give us, it's the technique I use at the end of every single week to reflect on how the week was and what I can do better. I've built a prompt which allows you to do that. It guides you through the process, and then it will implement those suggestions into your next week's plan. So that's in the VIP area. If you don't get that, you need to join the premium newsletter. The premium prompt on Prompt Entrepreneur. It's it is $5 a month, and that gets you like double the length. You get a lot more information about AI, ChatGPT, and it takes it to the next level. So I recommend it, but I am biased. Okay, that's it for now. As I mentioned in my last video, this is a new YouTube channel, and any likes, comments, or subscribes really help me. I know I sound like one of these AI YouTube bros, but I guess I am, so hey ho. If you do enjoy this stuff, I'm going to be increasing my setup. I'm going to be getting a better microphone, better video. I'm going to get some coaching on how to present better. But if you find the actual content itself useful and you want to see more of this, then please comment, like, and subscribe, because that helps me get a signal that this is something I should be spending my time doing. I'm already writing this newsletter, which is a big endeavor every single day. So adding the YouTube on top adds a lot more. So please support it so that I know it's worth doing, and then I should continue doing it. Cool.